Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Chess World Cup 2023. This is a knockout tournament being held in Baku in Azerbaijan. Massive names are playing: Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, Jan Nepomniachtchi, Fabiano Caruana, you name it. And this is the round that we say goodbye. Some games were decided in less than 10 moves. Some games were nail-biters, thrillers, back-and-forth action, and half of the field has been eliminated once again. After today, the women's side is moving on to the quarterfinals, 8 players remaining, and the open side is in the round of 16. And oh my goodness, today's games were absolutely nuts. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your flight to Baku. I will be your captain. Here we go. Today, normally I've been starting with Magnus's matchup. Today, Magnus had a lot of games, so don't run off anywhere, okay? A lot of you watch the Magnus game, then you get out of here. Hikaru's match versus Prague, young, 17, 18-year-old prodigy, and then we're going to take a look at how Magnus fared. So, to break the tie in the World Cup, they play rapid. They play 25-minute, then they play 10-minute, 5-minute, and then they play Armageddon. Hikaru sits down against Prague and plays the move c4. So he plays the English once again. It's been an all-English matchup between the American and the Indian player. And this time, we have a 4 knights, and Hikaru plays g3. Last time that Prague did this against Hikaru played knight to d4. This was the game yesterday. Prague this time plays bishop b4, which is the most common move, and Hikaru plays knight to d5. Now, what black likes to do in this position is utilize the relief over here and play this move e4. And now what white does is move the knight to h4, and this looks really stupid, but the knight is going to return. Sometimes it even returns this way, but frequently it will go to f5, and also you'll kick out this bishop, and then you will fight for the center. And you're never going to lose the knight with g5 for 2 reasons. Number 1, you can always run away, and number 2, once you move the bishop, the g5 square is going to be covered. Castles. Hikaru plays the move bishop to g2. You may wonder, why is Hikaru not taking on b4? Isn't that the entire idea? Yes, but if white tries to do it this way, then black is going to get a very dominant center, and then g5 might become a reality in the future after h6 is played. So, bishop to g2. And now we have d6, okay? And at this point, there is a spot where white can play knight takes or white can play a3. And after something like bishop to a5, white can play b4, and then white castles. You also will notice that in this position, that the move g5 now suddenly is a thing. It traps the knight, because the knight doesn't have any moves. You can't go d3. That's why you have to start with a3 or knight takes b4. Hikaru castles. And Prague plays g5. And it's not losing yet, but Hikaru's knight is trapped. And according to the computer, the only way to deal with this is to go here to hit the pawn. Because if takes, there's bishop g5, which is actually winning for white. And after something like h6, white actually has to do this to threaten to remove the knight. And after this, bishop h6, knight d5, cd5, like apparently white is doing okay. Hikaru plays a3. And all of a sudden, the move d4 is no longer as possible because there's simple, and you're going to see it in the game, Hikaru plays d3, there's just this. Hikaru's knight is just trapped. He's just losing a knight. He's not getting what you're supposed to get. He's just down a piece. Just down a full knight. Just a full knight down after 9-10 moves. Prague moves the rook out of danger, takes with the queen, and just prevents anything from going to the g5 square, brings his knight to the center of the board. Prague can't believe it. He's just up a knight. That's the danger sometimes of opening move orders, like in some of these sharp lines. And now Prague just holds everything together. Hikaru obviously trying to create some counterplay, given the fact that this bishop is not really participating. Hikaru rock solid, but Prague just moves the king to f7. And Hikaru lunges forward again, but Prague deals with it, and he trades Hikaru's pieces. Hikaru lunges forward again, but Prague just defends himself. And at some point, he is going to bring all his pieces, and there are no plot twists. Hikaru just resigns. He can't do anything. He can give a check, but then rook e7 or rook e7. Prague's just up a full knight. He's got this on the way. There's no way to get to the king. There's no way to get to the king because it's defended. There's mate threatened once the pieces are removed. Hikaru just lost to Prague basically in 10 moves because of one move order discrepancy. His knight was trapped, but in this position, instead of a3 first, he had to play d4 apparently. That was the only way the engine was showing equality. He mixes up a move order, and he loses. Which means Hikaru must win the next game with black. He lost with white. That is a massive disadvantage. Because here's the thing, Hikaru likes to play a certain system for the win, and I mean, just in general, you kind of have to play a cagey style of chess. You have to play a style of chess if you're trying to play for a win, where your opponent cannot trade all the pieces. In chess, with white, you have many options to bail out. Most people don't, because under normal circumstances, you are trying to play for a win. But Prague just plays one of the most solid lines, which is just not allowing your opponent to do anything. He trades to remove the tension. He castles, takes the file, right? Hikaru playing this in a very passive way. He's playing this in a passive way so that Prague has to play this for a win, right? Hikaru's pieces kind of dancing on the edge, trying to keep the tension. Prague trying to make Hikaru create some weaknesses. And all Prague does is just take the center. Hikaru tries to kick him out, but he's creating weaknesses in the process. He's undeveloping his pieces, but in the process, queen c5. And Hikaru's position is completely not defendable anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Queen to c5, pawn to g4. That same knight, there's another knight trapped on the edge of the board. At some point, it's going to have to come back to the center. But while it comes back to the center, the bishop is just falling. Knight takes d7. Prague just takes the bishop. You can't even take back because rook d7 is going to win you the queen. Queen takes d7, rook takes d7. Under normal circumstances, this is two pieces, but it's queen and bishop. And I'm going to take this. Hikaru plays a5. There are no more plot twists. Prague gives up the queen because he wins it back immediately. And as Daniel Naroditsky said during the commentary, only a miracle of God can save white here. Can save black, excuse me. And there are no miracles. Hikaru plays on just out of sportsmanship. That's kind of what you do. But Prague solid, Prague clean. The king is basically checkmated on h7. You would have to take and go to just a completely lost endgame. Hikaru resigns, and he is knocked out of the World Cup by Pragnananda Ramesh Babu of India. This is absolutely sensational. Prague 2-0s Hikaru in the rapid. But the strangest part about the match was the first game was over in a flash. And that is, like, chess is so brutal. Prague now joins three other Indian players in the round of 16. Gukesh and Erigaisi made it. Gukesh won in the playoffs today. And Vidit Gujarati, 25% of the round of 16 is Indian in the open side. That is insane. 4 out of those 16 players are from India. It's not... I saw on Twitter, people were like, well, that technically doesn't mean it's a World Cup. That's just how our World Cup works. It's nobody's fault that the entire future generation of chess is Indian. Every other country has to step up. Ridiculous stuff. My friends, this matchup was unbelievable. Magnus Carlsen versus Vincent Kaymer was Vincent winning game 1 in the classical, then winning in game 2, but losing in game 2. Here is their first game of the 25-minute segment. It is a Queen's Gambit declined. Magnus with the white pieces playing a slight sideline, and then plays in this variation where he plays a very early h4. And essentially the idea here is I'd like to create an attack, but I will not mind if you play h5 because you will give me the g5 square forever. And Magnus plays this nice move, king f1. This is clearly part of his preparation. He doesn't castle, keeping this idea in mind. And also g3 and king g2 is just the way the king is going to get safe. There it is, right? So this is the position. And you'll notice that Magnus has not spent any time whatsoever, okay? He's going to try to put the hurt on Vincent. He is the reigning, defending world rapid champion. When it's 25 minutes or 15 minutes or 10 minutes, he is the best player in the world. And Hikaru is second, as far as I'm concerned. Rook e8, knight goes to g5 because you have been given the opportunity. And now a3, and now black plays a5, stopping you. But Magnus was never interested in playing b4. Magnus plays e4, all right? He's trying to explode the center of the board. Vincent takes, all right? And a couple moves later, we also get a trade like this, and Magnus is not better, according to the computer, but he's better from the human standpoint for a couple of reasons. Number one, he is the only one applying pressure. Black has potential weaknesses, weak file, slightly better bishop. You know, that's not how a bishop moves. And reason number two, he's also up 13 minutes on the clock in a rapid game. That's really bad. And the reason number three, as always, he has what we call Magnus Carlsen bonus. None of us get to enjoy Magnus Carlsen bonus because none of us are Magnus Carlsen, right? Bishop f8, rook e8, and now we get this endgame. This endgame is rook bishop and 6 versus rook bishop and 6. The difference is that one side plays white. So that side gets the more useful open file first. If black tries to also get the open file, rook c7 is played, and if rook takes b2, there is rook f7. But more likely, Magnus would have played b4 or b3. And the point is that if you try to do something like this, I can play, for example, bishop e5, rook c7, rook c8. I can threaten mate. It's actually a very unpleasant position, and maybe Magnus would try to win this endgame, where he would try to, get in and win these pawns. So bishop g7, and a couple moves later, rook c5, take, 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 take. Now, you will count the pawns, you will realize it's equal. It's not equal. It's not equal because white has 2 outside passers versus 1. That's very hard to defend. Rook d2, rook b5 is game over because you will get a 2-on-0. 2-on-0 is just winning. It's winning for white. f6, rook b5, there it is. There's the 2-on-0. Magnus is completely winning. This is the best endgame player in the world. This is the best endgame player of all time. He's also up 17 minutes on the clock. Like, just so you understand, you get 25 minutes for the whole game. His opponent has 2 remaining. Rook d1, can't have a rook trade. King f3, king e2, kicks the rook, plays a4. Vincent takes, rook a1. Suddenly it's not so easy. Okay, you gotta maybe bring the king up. But Vincent not going anywhere. And all of a sudden, 13 minutes versus 19 seconds on the clock. Magnus plays inaccurately. Apparently he should have been a bit patient. It's not easy to find the way forward because you gotta make sure everything's defended as you push it, and also your king is gonna get... He goes here and suddenly Vincent gets in. And takes. And oh my god, Vincent's pushing his pawn. Vincent's down 2 pawns, but the h-pawn's a runaway. 10 minutes versus 40 seconds. Vincent h3, Vincent h2. Magnus has to give up his rook to push his f-pawn. And this game ends in a draw because as Vincent sacrifices this, the king is left alone with the pawn. And the king is going to eat the pawn because he's hungry. And Magnus was winning, but he was unable to do it. Vincent bulletproof. Unbelievable. Magnus, once again, is going to have to try to bury this man, but now Vincent gets white. This time, we have a Nimso Indian, pawn to f3, Magnus plays knight c6. Very cagey approach, e5, trying to fight for the dark squares in the center, and you see this, right? White has this big boy center. He's got the spaceship of pawns. Knight e2, knight g3, brings his bishop, and now Magnus plays h5, trying to instigate. h4, but the knight goes forward. We're gonna have a game where Magnus has the horses, and Vincent has the bishops. Horses versus the knights. Queen d7, rook b1, long castles. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Magnus playing for a win with black. Opposite side castling. Winner takes all. Winner takes all in this game. The winner moves on to the round of 16. Loser goes home. All right? Bishop to g5. Magnus plays c5. The idea of c5 is to lock the center, to try to make it a maneuvering game. d5, the center is locked. Now, rook h5. Vincent defends, but also he protect, but he also attacked the center. There we go. Take, take. Queen e1. Magnus plays e4. You can take my pawn, but then I'm going to pin you. He takes the knight instead. Now, in this position, this man, Magnus Carlsen, with his rook hanging, the bishop hanging, this bishop hanging, plays the move rook to e8. Bro, what? Leaving both bishops to hang. So now this, but now discovered attack on the queen. And now, Vincent has to mummify the bishop on g7, and his time is ticking. We have a rook trade. Rook e8. At some point, Magnus's knight is going to come alive. It's just a matter of time. Vincent takes. He plays rook e7. So now take, 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 check, block, check, king moves, queen e4. My friends, this is the Magnus Carlsen special. h3, knight c4. There he is. He looks beautiful. Queen e4, the knight's coming in. The knight's been on a5 for a while. That's the dangerous thing about these Nimso pawn structures. Magnus plays f5. Oh my goodness. We have an endgame, and that's it. There is no way Vincent is going to survive this because Magnus is going to get this, and then he's going to feast on all these pawns and bring this down. There we go. The best endgame player of all time, taking all the pawns. The only thing he has to be careful about is this h-pawn. But for the second time in a row, it is 12 minutes to 40 seconds on the clock. It literally does not get any more lopsided than this. Vincent runs with the bishop. The knight is coming for the pawn. All Vincent has going for him is the h-pawn. So he pushes it. Magnus takes his pawn. Magnus goes to stop. That's it. The game is over. King g2. Magnus wins the whole squad. The horse has feasted. The horse was hungry, and here come the pawns. You don't have time to guard this. So the only thing that you can do is push these pawns. And here they go, b4. 3 squares away. King comes back. Now Magnus plays a5. But apparently, he had to play b3, force the king here, and then play a5. Because then if h6, king g6, there is nothing. Because you're just stopping the pawn. And then you win. You can't take this because I push. But in the game, Magnus played the a-pawn first. And now after h6, king g6, the bishop can come back. The difference in this line was that if the bishop tried to come back, there is the otherworldly knight e3, which seals away the getaway square. And after something like king c3, this is a fork. That is unfindable in this kind of a format. The winning idea was to force the king here so that when the bishop came here, you had a geometric knight sacrifice. What? That's not findable. So all of a sudden, Vincent Keimer is back in the game again. Knight and 3 pawns, and there they go. King h7. But Vincent is just pushing the king c5, a3, bishop c1. He's stopping the pawns. Vincent Keimer has stopped the pawns. And this game also ends in a draw. Which means the winner of this game, this is now down to the 10-minute tiebreak format. They started with a 6-hour chess game. Then they moved to a 25-minute chess game. This is 10-minute chess. You cannot break the tie any other way. This is the only way that they are going to find a winner in this matchup. Winner takes all. Magnus plays e4. Tensions are high. We have another Spanish. a6. Last time, Magnus played the move d3. He goes back to it again. Last time, Magnus played bishop to g5. Remember that? He played bishop to g5. And then he played very early d4. Remember? Bishop h4, and then he played a very early d4. This time, Magnus plays c3. So he plays it differently. Doesn't put his bishop on g5. Doesn't do it. Castles. Vincent says you can't put your bishop on g5, rook e2, or rook e1. Castle's on the same side, knight bd2, the knight rotates to f1, and the knight rotates to g3, and maybe we are going to put something on the f5 square, maybe we're going to play pawn to d4, maybe we will trade dark square bishops, maybe we're going to play a4. Here we go. c5, Magnus chooses the a4 plan. Attacking on the queen side, plays h3. h3 is a multifaceted move, covers things coming to g4, also maybe knight h2, knight g4 ideas in the future. Takes. Now we strike in the center. Again, layers of different middle game plans here. Queen c7, keeping the tension and guarding everything in the center. Rook e8, bringing the rook to the party, but potentially destabilizing f7 and g6 a little bit. Queen d2. Now Vincent justifying his previous move. C takes d4 and grabs the center pawn. Now the center explodes. The rook comes in, but the rook is a target. For example, queen to d3. If the rook comes back, you win the knight. Of course, there is this move. But then queen g3, and if cb3, you have bishop h6. So dc5, Magnus opens up the center of the board. Apparently here, it would have been better to play bishop c2, according to Machine. He opens it up, then he does it this way. Vincent doesn't go back. According to the computer here, the best move is to just give up the rook, which is insane. And essentially just line up and laser beam the bishops. Vincent moves his rook over here. Magnus plays bishop takes g6. The best move was apparently to take this first. But Magnus does it like this. He takes, and gives up the bishop. Bishop takes h6, 4 minutes on the clock. If you take like this, it's rook e8 check, it's king to f7, and it's the cool, calm, and collected doubling up. If black plays something like bishop b7 trying to trade, queen h6, rook e8, and queen h7, or even knight g5. Queen h7 might not even work because you can't take the queen, and if you take the rook, you lose your queen. And you can't come back. Oh my goodness. So it's not queen h7, it's what? It's knight to g5, and that's the winning move. King f6, rook e8, and white is winning. So you cannot take bishop to f5. Vincent trying to defend himself. Bishop g5, queen d7, queen c3. Time is ticking. Both sides. Magnus, 1 minute. That's it. Essentially, a bullet game is deciding who is moving on. You'll notice that Magnus has squandered his advantage. Bishop f5, the best move was apparently queen d5 check, and going for this. Oh, not that. Bishop d2. Because if rook b2, there was bishop f4. What? What happens when the rook moves? Knight g5 check. What? What happens when the king moves? Rook a6. What? Well, the bishop is trapped, kind of, sort of. Like, you might get mated. So Magnus all of a sudden has lost his advantage, and my friends, this is essentially just a coin flip. It's a coin flip. Both guys, less than 1 minute on the clock. Magnus begins trying to speed up. Knight back to f3. You'll notice that he's playing every move quickly. 44 seconds down to 29 seconds. That's it. Equal position. The winner of this game is moving on to the round of 16. Rook f8. Queen d6, he hits the bishop. Vincent takes on f3. Magnus captures, centralizes. The queen comes in. Bishop hits the pawns. Bishop defends the pawns. King to g2 to make sure all the pawns are guarded. Queen comes back. Rook blocks. Queen e8. Now we have rook f8. Queen f8. No bishop endgame. No bishop endgame. Queen to d7. And for some reason, Vincent does not protect or counterattack. He plays queen d7, but Magnus takes. And Vincent does this, but Vincent's just down 2 pawns. For some reason here, something spooked Vincent, and he didn't play a move like queen b3, which could have potentially led to winning the b2 pawn. Instead, he does this. And now it's just basically a matter of, can Magnus win this endgame? 3 pawns versus 1 on the king side. And he's trying. He gives checks. And the only way he's going to catch Vincent is to trade the queens. King g2, h4, h5, taking squares away. Here we go, queen g5. This is Magnesian school of chess right here. He's got 2 passed pawns, but this should be a draw. Could it be a draw? It should be winning. It's got to be winning, right? Should it be a draw? Could it be a draw? I don't know. He's going to try to advance. There it is. There's the king. Oh, that's it. There's the king all the way to b5. And on move 68 of this game, as Vincent checked Magnus, Magnus blocked and checked Vincent, securing a trade of queens. It took 6 games. But Magnus Carlsen is moving on to the round of 16. And don't go anywhere, because I got one more game for you. I got a bonus game. I got a bonus game for you. This game was absolutely nuts. And this was Jan Nepomniachtchi versus Nihal Sarin. And this was a crazy game. e4, c5. Sicilian defense. Jan Nepomniachtchi played bishop b5 check. Knight c3. It'll be 2 minutes. Don't go. What? Pay attention. This is crazy. Knight c6. Queen slides over. Knight jumps to the middle. By the middle game over here, Nihal Sarin had built up a very powerful position. He put his knight in the center. He locked the queen side. Rotated his queen over. And then he played f5. While Nepo's queen was sleeping on the other side of the board, Nihal played bishop e5 and queen h4. And he had the cannons pointed at the white position. This is a terrifying situation for Jan Nepomniachtchi to be in. Jan played a g3, and Nihal broke in. He just broke in toward that king. And then he broke open the center of the board. Nihal Sarin, on the verge of defeating, checkmating, if you will, Jan Nepomniachtchi. Bishop c5. Nihal ignores it and takes the bishop on d3. The bishop goes to b6. Oh my god. Nihal not moving. Nihal's not going here. He gives up. He gives up the rook. Because if this bishop f3 is a mate, if you take on d3, check here, check here, check. It's not mate, but I'm going to win your queen. Bishop to e3 played by Nepo. Rook f8. Look at this position. Look at this position. This is insanity. The king runs. Here comes h5. In the middle of all of this, Nihal is now threatening four moves. He's going to make a queen. The pressure has to be overwhelming. Rook d3, queen g1, queen back to g5, pawn to h4. Nihal's knocking on the door. He's got 3 more moves to make. Nepo defending himself. 7 minutes versus 30 seconds. King to d2, rook in. Queen on g3. Nepo tries to create counterplay. Nihal gives up the rook for 2 pieces and is completely winning. Minus 3.5. Queen e1 check. The point that after the king moves, can't go here because of this, bishop to e4, and queen b1 is unstoppable. And the point is, for example, if something like queen e3, this is simply mate. This is simply mate. King c1, he has to find queen e1 and bishop e4. And perhaps, maybe, I don't know, he saw something like this and c6. Queen e2 check. King a3. And this. And the queen gets back in time because you threaten mate. He misses it. He misses a chance to eliminate Nepo. Then he does it this way. But now queen d6. And now he tries the same idea. Nepo misses queen d8 check here, playing this instead. Queen f7. But now, unfortunately, rook c4. And the queen guards the king. And in an unbelievable turn of events, Nihal Sarin could have eliminated the multiple-time World Chess Championship challenger. He could have been the 5th Indian player out of 16, but tragically, he loses. He loses, and Nepo moves on to the round of 16. This round, the Women's World Cup was actually relatively peaceful. The men were just unbelievable. They were doing some crazy stuff this round. We will bring back some of the games on the women's bracket as well, but it would have made for an hour video, so that will be they will be back. My friends, the quarterfinal is as follows: Magnus Carlsen versus Vasyl Ivanchuk. That is a crazy matchup. Ivanchuk beat Magnus in the candidates that Magnus barely escaped from to challenge for the World Championship. Wang Hao versus Gukesh. An opportunity for Gukesh to make it in to the semis. Nijat Abbasov from Azerbaijan versus Salem Saleh from the UAE. Vidit versus Nepo, that is a very fun one. Caruana versus Jan Krzysztof Duda. Dominguez Perez versus Alexis Sarana. We haven't looked at a lot of Ladopes games, but we will. Grandelias versus Erigaisi. And Ferenc Berkes versus Pragnananda of India. That is insane stuff. On the women's side, we have the semifinals. Elizabeth Petz versus Anna Muzichuk, who actually defeated her own sister. And Polina Shuvalova versus Nurgul Salimova. That is a matchup of Russia and Bulgaria. That is very, very exciting. And that concludes the round of 16, round of 32 coverage on both sides. Magnus still in. Hikaru eliminated by Prague. 4 out of 16 players on the open side remaining are from the country of India. Indian chess is the future, but we still do have Caruana, and we do have Lanier Dominguez Perez from the US, and we still got Magnus. Magnus Ivanchuk coming up. I'll see you there. Get out of here.